The Belgorod region is once again witnessing the consequences of Russian Air Force professionalism. According to Ukrainian intelligence, Russian bombers have dropped 8 guided bombs on the region over the past 11 days. This became known from an intercepted conversation of a local resident, which was released by the Main Intelligence Directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. In a phone conversation, the woman talks about fires at infrastructure facilities and admits that some of the destruction is the work of the Russian army itself. According to her, the Belgorod region is literally being bombarded by its own aircraft, and people are already afraid to leave their homes. The GUR notes that Russia regularly uses KABs against Ukrainian civilians, but due to technical glitches, more and more munitions are literally falling on Russians in the border regions of the Russian Federation. Such incidents have long ceased to be rare. In early September, it was reported that since the beginning of 2025, the Russian military has accidentally dropped over 100 guided bombs on its own territory and occupied areas of Ukraine. For example, on August the 27th, 3 Fab 500 bombs crashed in occupied Makeyevka, and unexploded bombs have been found repeatedly in the Belgorod region, including in the village of Polevoy and the hamlet of Aleksandrovka. Since the beginning of the year, media outlets have recorded at least 111 aerial bombs and 3 missiles dropped from Russian aircraft on Russian and occupied territory. By comparison, there were approximately 165 such incidents in all of 2024. The falling of Russian bombs on their own settlements is nothing new. In 2024, around 159 bombs dropped from Russian aircraft onto Russian territory or the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. Meanwhile, by March 2025 alone, at least 125 bombs had already been recorded as having fallen out of Russian aircraft since the beginning of the year. This is likely linked to the increased use of aviation for strikes on Ukrainian territory. According to Astra's sources, since the start of the current year, Russian aircraft have released at least 120 high-explosive bombs and 7 UMBP, Universal Inter-Service Glide munitions. These are high-precision guided bombs with an integrated warhead equivalent to a Fab 250. Recently, a large fire broke out at the Vokzalny shopping center in the town of Korocha, Belgorod region, Russia. The town was attacked by unidentified drones, according to Belgorod Governor Gennady Gladkov and Russian media. According to residents, unknown drones struck the town. Residents said they even heard the sound of a drone being shot down over Korocha. The governor reported that one of the strikes set fire to the roof of the commercial building. Additionally, parts of the town and nearby settlements, Pogorelovka and Podkopayevka, were temporarily left without electricity. Seryoza, yesterday alone, 12 people were injured. They destroyed 2 minibuses, 8 cars, an entire parking lot. Drones arrived at the parking lot. 4 drones flew in. Cars were burned. There was a fire. Minibuses were hit. 14 to 18 were injured. For 11 days, Russian bombers dropped 8 bombs. 8 bombs on the territory of the Belgorod region. Can you imagine?
Global efforts to curb emissions of the potent but short-lived heat-trapping gas methane are doing about as poorly as the more prevalent carbon dioxide, but there's hope for the next 5 years, United Nations officials said Monday. According to Associated Press, methane emissions can be a handbrake for slowing greenhouse gas pollution and temperatures, said Martina Otto, head of the UN's Climate and Clean Air Commission for Methane Pollution. That's because methane from fossil fuels traps nearly 30 times the heat of the more common carbon dioxide, but because they don't last nearly as long in the air, fast action to cut methane could have a big effect on controlling warming, she said. If countries do what they say in their climate-fighting plans, global methane emissions in 2030 will be 8% below 2020 levels, Otto said. That would be an improvement, because with no effort at all, those emissions are expected to actually rise by 13%. And yet that's not enough. The goal of the 2021 UN Global Methane Pledge is a 30% cut. We've gained momentum, Otto said. We can still make it, but it takes a whole lot of additional effort. Over the last 6 years, carbon dioxide and methane emissions have grown at roughly the same rate of about 4%, scientists say. Methane stays in the atmosphere about a dozen years compared to hundreds of years for carbon dioxide.
Slow climate action means that a multi-decade average of global temperatures will exceed 1.5 degrees, very likely within the next decade. We must make sure that this overshoot, this exceedance, is as short and as low in temperature as possible. We cannot do that without curbing emissions of methane, which is responsible, as we know, for about 1/3 of today's global warming. The 2025 Global Methane Status Report finds that the Global Methane Pledge is still achievable.
Emissions are still rising, but the outlook is improving. And that is due to new waste regulations in Europe and in North America, as well as a slower than expected growth in natural gas markets between 2020 and 2024. They have reduced the projected methane levels compared with earlier projections. Now, the Global Methane Status Report gives us, as Jonathan said already, this clear picture of both progress and potential. It shows that methane has made it onto the radar and that we've gained momentum, that cost-effective solutions exist today, essentially waiting to be brought to scale, and that the benefits are enormous. Above all, it shows that with leadership and cooperation, we can still deliver the fastest climate gains available this decade. So we can still make it, but it takes a whole lot of additional effort. It's not if we do it half-heartedly. And here I want to come back to my emergency brake or the handbrake. If we are heading towards the wall, you don't just pull it a little, right? You put it forcefully and fast. And I think that's where we are right now.